I'm here with Eddie Martin, a field engineer with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. Eddie, what things should a farmer consider if he's decided to use a well for his water source?
A farmer should always use a certified well driller to install his well. If he's in an area where it's hard to get groundwater in a well, he should consider using a hydrogeologist. And if he wants to use electricity to power his well, he needs to make sure the power company will provide that power. There are several safety considerations you should consider when you install your well. You should provide a backflow preventer in the system to keep contaminants from moving from the cow troughs back into the well or even into your home system if your home is also watered by that well. Be sure and get your permits before you contact your well driller, because a certified well driller does require a permit to drill the well.
Eddie, can surface water contaminate a well and cause problems for a livestock producer?
Surface water can pollute your well, so your well is grouted with concrete grout after installation, and the well casing is extended 1 foot above the ground. The 1 foot of casing above the ground is required by state law. It also prevents surface water from being able to get into the well.
When might a farmer want to use a solar-powered pump?
You may want to use a solar-powered pump if it's too expensive to get standard electrical power to your well site, or it's just impossible to get the electrical power to your well site. Solar-powered pumps are a green technology, but you will need a battery in your system to be sure you have adequate water for your livestock year-round.
Eddie, what about sanitizing pipelines and sanitizing the well itself?
The well driller will sanitize the well when he finishes installing the well, but it's also good for you to sanitize the lines and the well when you get ready to use the system.
Eddie, why might a farmer consider using the public water supply to provide water for his livestock watering facilities?
Well, the public water supply line may already be near the farm, and the farmer would like to avoid the cost of a well or developing own farm water sources. But in the long run, the public water supply may be a more expensive option. The monthly cost of water is more expensive to buy from the public water line than it is to pump from your well. If you do decide to use a public water source for the water needs of your livestock, you need to be aware that there are also local and state laws concerning the use of that public water source for livestock watering. A backflow preventer or a double check valve is a requirement in a line that goes from a public water supply to your livestock water troughs. Always remember, if there's a leak in the system, it's going to be expensive on a public water supply.
Eddie, does developing a spring for livestock watering facilities make sense for most farmers?
If you have a spring on your property, often it seems like you have free water, but most of the time springs are at an awkward location or at an elevation that's not accessible as well. Also, they're not always dependable during droughts. Before you consider developing your spring, you should have the Natural Resources Conservation Service do a wetlands determination for you so you can avoid any problems with the Corps of Engineers.
Eddie, describe the basic parts of a spring development.
The water from the spring enters collection pipes, goes through a core wall, and enters into a reservoir or a spring box. The sand deposits in the spring box, and the clean water moves on to the livestock watering facility. If there's excess water in the system, it goes through an overflow pipe back into the natural stream. It's very important that you hire a knowledgeable contractor to install your spring development system. The area around your spring development should be graded to keep surface water flowing away from it, and you will also want to keep your livestock away from the spring development area also. The roots of trees and shrubs can damage your spring development collector pipes. Be sure and keep them controlled. Before you use your spring development system, you should decontaminate it by the use of chlorine. You may also have to, from time to time, use chlorine as a maintenance practice.
You can get copies of the conservation standards for water sources for watering facilities by going to sc.nrcs.usda.gov. Click on EFOTG. NRCS standard numbers for water sources include 642 for water wells, 574 for spring developments, and 614 for watering facilities.